Dirty Santa guys.
Well, I haven't
What is
had an
this?
update
What
on
is
it.
this?
You ready, Michelle?
I am ready.
Good morning, everybody, and Happy New Year. The clock says it's 8:30, so I guess it's time to begin our organizational meeting. Commissioner Lautner, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Tim, early, can we go home?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And the clerk has reminded us again and again and again to speak into the microphone. And she did ask me this morning if I had my hearing aids in, and I do. Could you take roll call, please?
Commissioner Kramer,
Present.
Commissioner O'Rourke,
Present.
Commissioner Rexroth,
Present.
Chairman Wessel,
Here.
Commissioner Ross,
Here.
Commissioner Allgaier,
Here.
Commissioner Lautner.
Present.
Thank you.
We now have our first public comment opportunity for the meeting this morning. Anybody like to speak, please raise your hand and we'll call on you. Yes, Steve.
I'm Steve Snyder. I live in Fire Township. Most of you know me as chair of the Leelanau County Historic Preservation Society. We're associated with the Fort Farm Barn. But this morning, I'm also, I'll let you know that I'm a founding member of Michigan Barn Preservation Network. Every year we have one of these calendars made with pictures of barns in, and I'm happy to hand one out to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And direct our attention to November, which is the Poor Farm.
Yeah.
Any other public comment this morning? Yes.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Jennifer Grant, I'm Registered Deeds. I want to take a moment just to reassure our residents that our office does everything it can to protect our recorded documents on their most valuable asset, their property and their homes. Myself and my staff, we are not authorized to validate content or check title, but we do take pride in closely following the state statutes that are mandated by the state to assure that the records are being handled correctly. When a document gets recorded in our office, it becomes a permanent public record, and everybody can see it. At that point, it cannot be altered, it cannot be removed, and it cannot be changed. As register, I want to encourage our residents to sign up for the free fraud alert service we offer through our Tyler software. After you are signed up, the program will alert you if anything has been reported in the public records under the name or the names that have been registered. I would also like to invite our residents into the office to see our process, ask any questions that they have, to get a better understanding of what our office does. Search the public records, search their public records, and if they haven't, to sign up for the free fraud alert service. And I also want to thank you guys for your service and appreciate all that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Happy New Year.
Any other? Yes.
Hi, my name is Renee Weiler, and I am an SEC whistleblower, and IRS whistleblower, and a friend of the DOJ. The DOJ just convicted in October of 2022 a man by the name of Patrick Joseph Soria. I gave you, Leslie, that the FHA evidence that he has been assigning our deeds to his company, the Bank of New York Mellon trustee. Now, no one's doing anything about it. We have 24 deeds that I have counted and gave to Judge Marion Krakowski. And I asked her to investigate this and send it to the law enforcement agency that will protect these deeds and give remedy to these homeowners who have had their deed transferred to a convicted felon's shell company. He has multiple shell companies. So there's 24 with the Bank of New York Mellon. I believe there was 39 by the Wilmington Trust. And I just was notified that Deutsche Bank, he has a Deutsche Bank shell company that he is transferring or has transferred deeds to. So I need to know who in Leelanau County is going to protect our records, because Jennifer Grant's doing her best. She has to record everything. Okay, so what happens when we have 3 downstate law firms, Trott and Trott, Orleans and Associates, and Randall Miller, forging documents, loan documents, and they're recorded in our county, they're recorded in Berry County, they're recorded in Oakland County. We go to Oakland County, we have the Register of Deeds, Lisa Brown, who has been notified by me of the forgeries by Randall Miller and Associates. That's her brother. Okay, her brother. She knows that. I told the prosecutor years ago what he's doing, and he still is foreclosing on properties here in Leelanau County. So I need to know who is going to stand up and protect our land titles. Anybody? Because we've had enough. I've had to go to Orange County, California, to their DA's office to report these crimes because, well, Joseph Hubble thinks these are civil crimes. So if someone steals your titles, good luck, because no one here in Leelanau County is going to protect the title.
Thank
So we
you.
will be having a meeting. Excuse me, I'm going to go ahead with this. I'm not going to infringe upon my First Amendment rights again. I will be conducting a meeting with Elliot Spitzer, Orange County. I'm flying out there with 2 other whistleblowers, and we're going to take care of business.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Renee.
Mr. Chairman, this meeting was announced to be live streamed, and it is not, so I do need to get.
Okay, let's take just a break to get our technology working. Thank you.
So we're on recess.
That's all right.
Yes, please.
Are we on a recess?
Yes, we are.
Wait, Jennifer, before you leave, so you said once a document is entered, it can't be altered or changed.
We're on,
No.
I'm not recording right now. We're on recess. Do you want to have her wait till you get back in session?
Oh, because she couldn't answer in public comment, I thought this might be a good time, I was just wondering about
Okay, I'm
process.
just letting you
Not
know
a
I'm
part
not
of the meeting,
recording.
but.
Right, so what,
Madam Clerk?
that's magical, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your patience as we got our technology going. Any other public comment, please? Yes.
Good morning. Since last year, it's good to see you too.
Thank you for your service as commissioners. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it. I hope you know that.
The clerk is signaling me to say that we need to speak louder.
Oh, yes, sir. I will do that. Thanks for reminding me.
Thank you.
And your name.
Carrie Onan, Centerville Township.
Thank you.
And thanks to every one of you, as I said, for your service as our commissioners. And those of you I recently emailed, I wanted to thank you for your prompt and thoughtful responses. We very much appreciate the respect you show us by taking time out of your crazy busy schedules to communicate with your timely and thoughtful replies. I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate that. Regarding the current committee system that we've set up, if you're going to continue using this system, and there are definitely those of us that question the efficiency and efficacy of this approach, but if you're going to continue using this system, the structure itself looks in desperate need of streamlining, flat out. For starters, we understand these to be subcommittees. So by their very nature, they exist to serve you, our elected board, of all 7 commissioners, right? I mean, that's a subcommittee. So it's logical that what these subcommittees do comes specifically and directly from our board of 7 elected commissioners as a whole. Please correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but this is the way we see it. And those specific, I guess, directives or authorizations that you give the subcommittees, we want to see them done in a public and transparent fashion so we can at least observe it and hear it is. So the board as a whole authorizes the subcommittees to research and bring the results of that research to the executive committee, or the executive meeting. That's our understanding of the process as it seems to have functioned for a long time. So from the executive committee, or at that committee meeting, the entire board then deliberates and confers with their constituents for a week to then decide and vote on what action, if any, will be taken at what I think is called the regular meeting, which is the evening meeting, where I've noticed more public seems to participate. It makes sense that the vote takes place there and only there at the regular evening meeting. That was our understanding years ago, that was the meeting where action actually took place. These other ones were to lead up to that. So this gives all interested parties, that would be all 7 commissioners, and the public at least 1 week, if not 2, to review the subcommittee's research findings, right? And give us all a chance to do our due diligence before a deciding vote takes place, before issues are voted on and ratified. I don't know that I'll have time, but I'll do what I can.
Just to
Thank
let you
you.
know, that is 3 minutes.
That's it? Okay.
But you're welcome back at the end. Thank you. And thank you for your kind comments. Any other public comment? Yes, Mr. Murkowski.
Good morning, Happy New Year. Everybody was pushed in, right? Somehow we got here. Just as we look forward to, I appreciate Ms. O'Nunn's commentary. I think she has laid out for us and the commissioners the appropriate process of how governance should take place. That's the way I believe it, and I observed the committee system 30 some years ago. It wasn't very good. I attended all those meetings, all those subcommittee meetings in those days. And it was just a flurry of foolishness from my perspective. I believe every commissioner is elected to understand everything that goes on at the same time. That's easily possible in this room, in this committee. And so I have hope that the new year will bring us new things, better things in a resolution. And I would like to raise to the Gandhi's 7 dangers to human virtue. Wealth without work, pleasure without conscience, knowledge without character, business without ethics, science without humanity, religion without sacrifice, and the last, very important here, going back to May 11, 2021, politics without principle. Politics without principle. And that issue, it did not exist, and it still does not exist, because the commissioners are making every effort not to report to the people the consequences of their bad decision on May 11, 2021. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Thank you very much. Any commissioner comment? Yes.
So, along the lines of public comment, I sent an email to all commissioners asking them not to reply, but I don't know if it's appropriate to read. I asked not to reply per OMA, but it may be time to enter that into the public. So I will read to you what I sent to my fellow commissioners. I support the committee structure, but I think we need the following guidelines. And I will forward this to you after. So committees should be given specific, well-described tasks within their respective area at the direction of the whole board. This should come as a motion from the board. Example, we authorize the Building and Grounds Committee to research possible alternatives to the HVAC system and make recommendations to the board. Any recommendations from the committee must go to the executive meeting for deliberation before action or inaction at the regular meeting. Any committee meeting recommendation that will have an impact on another committee's current specific tasks as authorized by the whole board will need to allow the other committee to meet and review prior to presenting to the executive board. Example, if the personnel committee has been given a specific task to review and that task has a financial implication, it would not need to be run by the finance committee unless it impacts a specific task already given to the finance committee, and vice versa. In short form, I think the committee structure has to be specific and narrow in focus. All committee research starts at the executive, is authorized at the regular, and returns to the executive. That way there is more trust, and committees clearly know their duties, and the board knows what to expect. I believe with the structure, the committees can be very effective without jeopardizing the integrity of the whole board. Just one commissioner's thoughts. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Any other commissioner comment? Okay, thank you. We now have time to do our agenda. There is a proposed agenda there. We have not met the standard for closed session, so we cannot do 7A, but we will take item 7 and have that discussion. Any other suggestions, deletions, additions? Yes.
I just have a question, Mr. Chairman, on that. What did we not meet of the standard, and why was this on here?
We put it on there thinking we had a legal opinion. We have a contract with our attorneys, but we don't have a legal opinion, and we can only go into closed session if we're there to meet with our attorney or if we're there to consider a legal opinion. So if we wanted to consider it in closed session, we would have to ask for our attorney to be here or to submit a legal opinion.
Okay. Well, I just kind of wondered, because this attorney-client privilege letter was 3.5 years old. And so that's why I wondered why it was even on here. But, okay. So are we going to still discuss 7?
I think we were asked to discuss 7.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Any other additions or deletions? Could I have a motion?
Move to approve the agenda as amended.
Support. All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0. Thank you. We're now down to the election of our vice chair. Are there any motions?
I would move to, sorry.
Commissioner Russ?
I would move to elect Vice Chairman Rexroth for the one-year term.
Any additional motions? All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion approved 7-0. Thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Rickman.
And thank you.
And condolences.
Condolences.
Thank you.
We now have our approval of our 2024 rules of order and procedure. Some commissioners have made suggestions. Laurel Evans has made note along the way. I'd ask our administrator to introduce the document in our package, and then our task will be to approve, add, delete, change, edit, and establish our rules. Ms. Ellen.
So to that point, you had sent to you in your packet, and I believe you all have hard copies if you so choose. The only challenge with the hard copies is that they don't show the actual red line. So if you do have it electronically, it might be a little easier to follow on that. But many of the corrections, as you can see on page 3, are just updates in terms of changing the date and different things that have been inserted.
I do have that copy with the red lines on it. Distributed this morning if you want to look at it.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you do have those, I did not receive a copy of that. That's okay. I'm familiar with the document, so we're good to go.
Mine's black and white.
Yeah, mine is too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't believe that there was a color copy.
Oh, sorry.
So, that's right.
You want color copies?
No.
I think
I
we
have
can.
it.
No.
I have it.
That
I
should
can
be
follow
close.
it electronically as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
If we
I
just
have
don't
it
go
online.
too fast.
Yep.
So we'll be going
So-
back and forth.
Page number 5, I think, page 4 was just, again, as I mentioned, in terms of the dates. I think in regards to on page 5, you'll see that in the comment, there was a suggestion and this is reflected that we move the meeting times from the original 9:30 to 9 o'clock. It was just a recommendation, so it is.
Actually,
The reverse.
I'm sorry, move them from 9 AM to 9:30 for our regular.
So are you gonna like go through the whole thing, or can we go through and discuss as we go?
I think we need to discuss as we go.
Yeah, let's discuss.
Okay, I will let the board lead then as you see fit.
Well, to back up, to understand fully, as I was trying to decipher this, what is LE? We have LE1, LE2. I understand, what is LE?
Laurel Evans made those
Right, comment.
made those comments in there, put them in as a reflection of information she had received.
Well, I
from the
understood
board.
the first one. The first one, it says LE1. I didn't know what that meant, but I certainly understood that this was a suggestion by Commissioner Allgaier to move to a 9:30 start time.
But Laurel
rest-
did it.
She made them.
She made the, she
so-
physically did it.
All right, but further, I'll get to it. Further down, it really, there's LE4, and then there was some other, I don't know what it is right now. So, all right, so Laurel Evans makes all kinds of sense. The rest then are just Laurel's suggestion? Is what you're saying?
No, I don't believe Laurel didn't have any input on.
Because there's an LE2, and it's got changes. So Laurel made these changes on her own then? Is that how I read it? Because I don't see a commissioner beside it. And that's why I couldn't fully understand where all these came from. But we can take them one at a time. I think it's very important we do.
The reason I had asked Deb to do a quick overview, if some of these are changes just because the calendar changes or action that we've taken in the past year. But let's take each one separately, and I'd prefer that we treat this part of our agenda as more committee and have more informal discussion so that we have time to talk about our rules. Commissioner Elgar?
Yeah, I would like to address the 9:30. My understanding is that the commission did meet for years at 9:30, and that it was just changed back and there was no particular reason. I am proposing that we return to 9:30, if nothing else, because the staff has to come in early for us to meet at 9 o'clock. We are then paying overtime, infringing on their personal lives. And it's not necessary. There's no reason we have to meet at 9 o'clock. We could just as easily meet at 9:30. And it would be better for everyone. And I don't see a downside. So can we work with motions here, or should we discuss first?
If we treat it more like a committee, I think we can discuss and see where we are, and then we can make a motion if we want to make an official change, if everybody's comfortable with that.
We could gather all of the changes into one motion then instead of making 26 different
That's
ones,
what-
but taking one at a time, so.
We have a consensus.
I don't know if we want to keep, somebody going to keep a list?
Right, yeah, right.
I'd just like to speak, are there many hourly employees that have to come to board meetings? Is that what we're referring to? Because a salary employee does not.
Well,
Necessarily,
the
we don't pay
clerk's
overtime.
office has to come in, but administrative assistant has to be here early. And there's no reason
both
But
of
aren't those salary
Other than-
positions? No?
somebody wanted to change it.
Commissioner Lautner?
I think it's more than just the clerk's office that has to be here early to prepare for our meetings. So I certainly understand Commissioner Allgaier's request, and I think it's a great suggestion, just because it gives everybody a chance to come in the door, get their feet on the ground, get ready, and we would hit the meeting at 9:30. I opposed going to the 9 o'clock meeting when this was changed for that very reason, but at that time, there was no consideration of staff, period. They said, nope, we're going to start at 9. And it has done just that. It's created extra work. Even for our salaried employees, it's created extra work for them. I'm also cognizant of the fact that half the day's gone by 9:30, but we can get half a day's work in before we got to get up here, so that's not a problem either. So,
I just
I'm
want,
okay.
I just want to clarify that we are spending overtime. I mean, that is a fact, right? I mean, I'm happy with making it at 9:30, but I want the decision to be based on a fact. No one has answered my question. Your salary, right?
Correct.
Your position is salary, your position is salary. Kathy, your position is salary. So, Jen, your position is salary. I'm just confused. Again, I'm happy to go with 9:30, but again, we're making a decision based on what? Convenience or, so what's the basis for
Well,
our
because
changing it?
people are coming in early just 'cause, for no particular reason. So I may have been in error assuming we pay overtime.
Okay. that's
But
fine.
just
Right.
because we want them to come in early and start their day early. And I don't see any,
But our clerk isn't the only, our clerk is clerk to the board. So that doesn't mean one person, that's a staff. So I don't think it's just the clerk that would have to be here. It starts a snowball effect of who's going to cover what and who's going to be here and who's going to be at the desk, et cetera. It starts, everyone has to, it's a team, as I understand it. That's a team in there, not just, oh, I'll be here early to take minutes. There's so much more to that. Leanna has to be here. So even though they are salaried, I appreciate that, but that argument hasn't flown when I've tried to get some changes based on the fact that this is a salaried position, so therefore, but we haven't taken that into account. So do we want to put extra work, extra time on our salaried employees besides, if that's,
Other thoughts?
I think it's a half hour one way or another, and we're gonna be here till next Thursday if we can't get through this one this quick, so I'm gonna say, 9:30.
so I would make a motion that we begin our executive committee meeting at 9:30.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in support of the motion to begin our meetings at 9:30, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I get to sleep in an extra half hour at my age.
you get an extra half hour of work. That's what you have to do. So,
Item number one of 610 done, so.
The next change that we have to look at, I don't think we have to approve font changes. So
but why was committee deleted? Just, what did it say before? How was that worded?
it was executive committee, and now it's been changed to executive board of commissioners meeting. It is officially the executive committee.
But the other ones aren't, so just be consistent, let's say.
Yeah, you gotta
We're
change
good.
one or change them all, I guess, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Just keep it as, I think.
Leave it. Everybody comfortable moving
Yes,
forward?
Yep.
absolutely.
So that's why, all right.
So, I'm sorry. So have we gone through this whole thing? Are we going to, are we approving the dates at this point?
The dates are presented later for the meetings in the agenda.
Okay.
So this is,
Well, these are,
These are specific dates also, so.
yeah, so the other one, the next one would be October.
Oh, you're
And,
right, this doesn't have dates.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Oh, yes, it
Well,
does,
it-
second Tuesday.
It does, but there's an agenda
No,
item.
not dates.
The
There's an
second
agenda.
Tuesday of April of 2024 is a date. It is a
It's-
date.
But there is an
the
agenda
actual
item later
date
that actually is a date approval, so I think
Right.
we're just approving language. And so if we can get through the language and then get to the dates,
I'm with Commissioner Rexroad. If we don't streamline this, I think we'll be here all day. And would people be willing, our administrator has worked hard at organizing this, and I think it'd be helpful, page by page, highlight the things that you think we need to take action
This
on.
shouldn't take long. So October, we would be moving the, she has potentially second Tuesday, but we're just saying just leave it on first Tuesday of October. It's October 1st would be our executive, 2nd would be our regular. That's the way it's been done, so we're going to leave that as is and not go with changes.
Everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, we
Okay.
can move forward.
Well, and then in December, does Christmas fall later? So we would have executive on the, she deleted the first Tuesday of December and put 2nd in on, so she made that change. Am I understanding that correctly or not?
The second would be, the executive committee meeting based on the current structure would be on the 9th, and the second meeting, which would be the regular meeting, would be on the 16th.
7th.
We had the calendar
10th
closed.
and 17th.
I'm sorry, it'd be the 16th.
So
I'm sorry,
10th
10th and
17th.
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 I
Sorry.
think it worked really well to change December to the first and second Tuesdays as well.
Okay, so where was the first written that she deleted?
The first Tuesday instead of the second.
So she deleted the first and put 2nd in for the executive, which would be the 10th. And then she deleted the 2nd and made it the 3rd. So do we want the, December, we changed this year because of the holidays and travel and everything else. So do we want it executive the 3rd, regular the 10th, or executive the 10th, regular the 17th?
I think we changed it this year because of the time before Christmas, and with this calendar, I suspect that
It's a full week.
if we do it too early, we run into problems with finance.
Okay, so, yeah.
Do you think?
Just from the financials and what we do, the reason it got switched 2 years ago was an oops in the preparation of the calendar, which carried forward. That was in '22 and carried forward to '23, just from an administrative standpoint, meaning what I do and what finance does. The 10th and the 17th works. Or no, it'd be the 10th and the 17th.
Yeah.
Yes, and so.
To work better because it's not that close to Christmas, it's the 17th. And then we'll come back and hit you between Christmas and New Year's for a year.
Bingo, and that's what I was just going to say. It's been really kind of nice when it gets that close to Christmas to push it earlier in the month. I don't see that problem with 2024. Especially since we all know we have that final meeting the end of the month. So this is good.
Everybody
So good.
comfortable then with
Yep.
2nd and 3rd week?
Yep.
So is it really that helpful?
It really is. Just because there is a big enough span this year. But if you find it throughout the year that it doesn't work, you certainly
Yeah,
are free to
we can do a
adjust it
change.
if it becomes problematic.
Anything else on page 4? Okay, now we're on page 5, or page 6 of our packet.
After the elections.
Just a housekeeping change,
Yep.
as well as item 7, or page 7,
Just the dates at the bottom.
and page 8.
Any issues with that?
I should have.
Well, you on packet page 8 or board rules page 8?
Board rules,
Board rules page
Page
8, I suggest we leave number 6 just as regular as it states.
could you speak to what that is, because I apparently don't have this.
Well, I guess Laurel has a suggestion that throw in special meetings, but I think
You're on
that,
page-
C6, she's on.
yeah, committee procedures.
C6 on page
Board rules, page 8, there's only one change, or a suggested
Oh, yeah, page 9.
change. But I think by throwing special in there would just lead to more chaos that the public spoke of this morning. So I just suggest we leave it as regular and,
Is this a place we want to consider putting Commissioner Rexroth's language on the limitations of our committee?
I think that's further, I think that's further in the packet.
In regards to Section C, committee procedure, and I do see some of the confusion at the very bottom, there's a very small page 8 that relates to the board
Oh.
rules, but the page at the bottom right-hand corner is
That's why I'm
9.
confused on
So
what
that's where
page
there's
I'm
a
on,
little
so,
bit, yeah.
okay,
So I was
thank you.
looking also at the bottom number on the bottom right. Section 1, or C1, actually speaks to upon majority vote, recommendations and resolutions shall be developed and presented to the full board. And a recommendation that came up based on the language, or actually, to be honest with you, just a thought on this would be presentation of the full board to the executive session. And this would indeed commit that then any committee meetings and any committee discussions would be presented at the executive committee meeting. So proposed language for the board's consideration would be simply to add at the end of sentence number 1 is board to the executive session, or due to the executive board.
Well,
I don't,
go ahead.
you sure?
Yeah.
I'm not real comfortable with our committee structure. I think Commissioner Ross is doing a wonderful job with our personnel committee, but I'm not comfortable with those discussions not being held with the full board. I really don't see why they can't be. And also the finance committee, I think those discussions should be held with the full board. So I'm not real comfortable with, I think they're a good, I know why we decided to try it, but I'm not sure how helpful it's been.
I'd like to say it's only been 3 or 4 months. I mean, have we really tested it? And we've made some ideas have been generated to improve it. Again, I think we're just reacting, and I think we need to think about the process.
I don't think
I-
that's reacting.
Yeah, go
I think
ahead.
Yeah,
it's
it is.
responding.
Let's
3
make
or
sure
4
we all
months
get to.
is not a long time
speak
to
up.
give a committee structure any leg room to work and figure out where it needs to go, so.
I saw 3 hands, Commissioner Rexroad, Commissioner Kramer, and then Commissioner Lutner.
I think Commissioner Kramer had her hand up before
Oh, did
me, but I guess my comment is really quick. I'm just going to say, I think maybe we need to, rather than try and insert this language all the way through, is have a full discussion about the committee structure and some of the suggestions made and whether it lives or not, I guess, before we dissect every single sentence going through here and add language that maybe someone is going to, I mean, if it's the board's pleasure that the committee structure is resolved, then we've wasted a ton of time. So I think we should have that discussion together, and then if the pleasure of the board is to move forward, then I would ask, hey, if the suggestions that I suggested are as modified or added to or agreed to at the next meeting, we can further modify our board rules with those changes if desired, rather than, to try and fly spec at one. I mean, I just think we're going to go around in a circle, but sorry.
No, you're fine. Oh, no, it's okay. I kind of probably am going to echo Commissioner Alger's statements about the committee structure. I have felt blindsided in some of our meetings as to which direction we were going. Not up to speed on them at all. I also think notoriously when you add meetings, to add meetings is a clear sign that I don't think it's any, I don't think we're in the dark that things aren't functioning the way that they should be functioning. And I think as opposed to, elected officials trying to tackle these very difficult situations, we should maybe be looking more at the root of the dysfunction. And instead of just trying to do something, meet to meet. And that's kind of where I'm sitting with the committees. I know that I haven't been at them, so I don't really realize the things that you guys are doing, but I think that's also part of the problem. So
Thank you. Commissioner Lautner.
I agree. I agree with everything that was just said, and I think Doug has a very good point. My first hope would be that we just get away from the committee system. I think the committee system has just created, I think it's created monsters. I think it's created chaos. I know it's created more work for the clerk. I know it's created more work for the staff. And I know it's created more work for us. And for example, if personnel committee meets, I, who am not on personnel now, to have to take more of my time either to drive up here and watch the meeting itself so I can get the whole infliction of what's being said, or try to watch it on YouTube, which is at best bad, for several reasons. Quite often you can't really tell who's talking. Quite often you can't hear what they're saying. And you certainly can't get the infliction of what's being said. So that would be my first out of the chute, is just let's go back to working as a full Board of Commissioners where we all get all the same information at the same time. Second, if we're going to have a committee system, my idea would be that we all meet for these. So do something such as the first Monday or the first Tuesday of the month, the first Tuesday, we would meet as a full Board of Commissioners, cover personnel issues and finance issues that are more in depth than what we normally can't handle at executive. Second Tuesday then would be executive, third Tuesday then would be regular. So it adds one meeting a month for us, but we would all get all the same information at the identical time. My third choice then would be to, if we are going to have committees, is follow Doug's, Commissioner Rexroth's plan for spelling it out. And, but follow it to a T, because it's very well written. Commissioner Rexroth, I give you a lot of credit because it says exactly what has to happen. So it would start at executive. If there's a need for it to go to committee, this board would then send it to committee. So if it's a personnel issue, personnel would look at it. If there's financial implication, it would then go to finance, then go to executive the next month, if there's anything really that pressing. And that would be my hope, I just think that the least amount of heartache for everyone. And but if we're going to do it, we have to do it. We have to do it right.
Commissioner Ross.
Chairman Wessel, when did the committee system, when did we discuss that, or when was that idea brought to us?
Put it in place in August or September.
September, okay.
When we were struggling with finance.
Yeah.
I assume we're only talking about the Personnel Committee and Finance Committee and not Buildings and Grounds and Safety and Senior Services and some of our other standing committees. But it seems to me that we have to decide before we have to decide. I've heard three people anyway say, think we ought to dispense with the committees. And then we heard a suggestion from Commissioner Rexroth that he'd like to keep the committees but really restrict them in their business. It seems to me that's the first question. Before we go too much further, we have to decide whether we're going to do without committees or have committees. And then if we have committees, we have to have the rules. So Commissioner Ross and Commissioner Elgar.
I totally agree with what you're saying, but I also want to remind myself and others in the room that the reason why this happened is that we were in a crisis, and we're still not over that crisis. In a couple hours, we're going to hear from the man we hired to help us dig into the problem. I think it's all tied together, and I think making a decision to dismantle the committees before we've gone through the results of the survey and really had a chance to digest what is a more workable function of this board and how do we support the staff better. I think that's too tied to what we're going to find out this afternoon to make a decision this morning. I feel very strongly that it was a good idea. We gave it 4 months work, and we're looking at amending it, making it better. I think to throw it out before is not the right use of our time.
Thank you. Commissioner Elgar. Ricky,
You haven't
did you?
spoken yet, so I'd like to follow him.
His finger's not very tall when he raises his finger.
Well, the agenda says approval of the 2024 rules of order and procedure. So everybody has a lot of good points. So the way it looks right here, are we required to approve the rules at this meeting, or can we table it?
I would table it.
No, actually, this is where we.
But are we required by statute to approve the rules and procedures at this meeting? If not, I would suggest we table it and get everybody in a room and get this straightened out.
I'll defer to the clerk. It's my opinion we need rules to operate, but we can always amend them at any time. But we must have rules in place to have a meeting.
So you're saying approve it even though we're not going to approve all of it or change it?
Commissioner Lautner?
Well, it might be easier to amend with what you're saying, but I do think we kind of need to know, we're scheduling things out for the year, so we kind of need to know our schedule. Public needs to know our schedule.
I agree.
So is there a situation where the conflict really lies around the committee structure and you could
That's
just
where it
approve
lies with me, and it
could you
says.
approve them as it is?
Yes.
And table the committee structure discussion? Or, I mean,
I take back saying he can go first. If he's going to table me, then I'm taking back.
It's your prerogative.
No, I think Mr. Rexroth has the right idea. We're all going around this committee and, that's, handle that later, Doug, you think, or what?
This is where we do that. This is the organizational meeting. So that's the whole purpose of this meeting, is to say, what are we going to be doing this year?
We're going to be here a while.
Well, it takes as long as it takes sometimes. The organization, so so what was I going to say before this? You wiped my brain. I don't like not being a part of full discussions, especially on finance. I think part of the reason that we had a HR committee is we had a new HR person who was, and we were trying to support her in what she was doing. She's now gone. But I don't like not being, I would support Commissioner Lautner's idea is if we have an issue that needs special discussion, that we have a special meeting before after our executive, to go into a financial issue or an HR issue in depth as needed, but that we are all in on that discussion and we all get all the facts and all can engage. So even with the committees, I can come to the finance meeting, but I can't speak. It's just public comment. So we can't engage in full discussions with the committee structure, as the whole group. And then you guys decide something and it comes to the executive and we have to start all over. So that's why I don't like it.
Commissioner Kramer.
I think Kama is completely accurate. I think this is very much tied to the climate survey and how we should be moving forward. I think I'll just lay it out there. I think these committees are formed now to address the problem that we have essentially, maybe not this board, but previous boards have created. And I'm still not really sure why we haven't come to the conclusion that maybe this isn't just functioning the way it should be and going back to maybe when it was functional. I think the climate survey will give us some inside information into that, but I mean, putting Band-Aids on Band-Aids on Band-Aids, I don't think is really, again, addressing the root. So I think maybe this portion needs to be tabled until we can find out more.
Well, I'm trying to think in my own mind what I've heard. I've heard three people anyway that would like to do away without the committees. I heard one that would like to restructure the committees but keep them. I've heard one that wants to table, and I've heard one that wants to give it another chance. I think it's time to make a decision so we can move forward, and I open to a motion.
I would move to,
Going raised
I'm
her
sorry,
hand.
was someone up there first?
No, you're good.
No, I'll back off. That's fine.
Actually, I had my
Oh,
hand
sorry,
up.
I didn't see.
Okay.
Commissioner Elgar.
I would move that we amend the committee structure to include the entire board, which would meet as needed in special session to address specific issues.
Support.
Discussion.
Do you want to speak to that?
I just believe, again, I will reiterate, I can attend a finance meeting, but I cannot speak. And to me, that's untenable. I do believe that we all need to be able to be present for a deep discussion and able to participate in that discussion.
Thank you. Commissioner Rexroth and Commissioner Ross.
So I just, for understanding, I have the same problem with every other of the standing boards that have been here, that I can attend and not speak. Building and grounds, safety, I think, I don't remember, I have to look at how many there are.
Several.
There are several, so I'd have to really understand why this action would only apply to one and not to all. And
Can I address that just really quick? Just because
First
finances.
Commissioner Ross, and then you can respond.
Yeah, I think, it's logistics too, you guys. We have to get all 7 of us, or if we all want to be on the table, all these meetings. I don't think it's going to lessen the number of meetings we do. I really don't. I really feel like this is preemptive of trying to make this county work better by just not letting the process work through.
Commissioner Elgar and then Commissioner Lutner.
I don't envision that we will meet, we would meet as needed. And I think that the difference between the finance committee and things like building and grounds and senior services is because our primary job for all of us is to watch over the taxpayer's dollar. And we all need to be involved in that discussion.
Commissioner Lutner.
Yeah, so I really think it's apples and oranges to look at the other committees. Where we might place a no smoking sign on the campus just does not compare to the levity of what these two large committees have been doing. So I agree 100%. I don't like not being able to speak at these committee meetings when they're dealing with such heavy issues. And the bigger problem is that it's how they've been handled. And I've been pounding the table since these committees started, because I asked the question when we formed these of whether all recommendations would come back to executive. And I was told yes. That was the process. And that, in these 4 months or 5 months, has not happened. We've been circumventing this Board of Commissioners, ramming stuff through, and that's not fair to us, and that is not fair to the public. So because we had a process, the process was not followed. That's why I fully appreciate what Commissioner Rexroth has said about how it would be spelled out. I supported this motion because I think it would streamline meetings because it would only be what is absolutely necessary to go to a full committee of the whole, which is the way we've been operating for a number of years, and it's worked very well. So if there's a really important issue, a really important speaker, such as, this gentleman that came for the climate survey, we all could have been in on that meeting instead of having to wait till we met and trying to ask questions and be repeatedly shut down. So I think it would really streamline, and we just push the most important things off and get back to the executive committee meeting. And it doesn't, so that committee of the whole meeting, we wouldn't have to schedule one for every first Tuesday. So as the calendar permitted, if there's an issue that comes up and an executive says, hey, let's boot this, it could meet the week after regular, so that we all have time to gather more information. So if you're going to get off of home base here today, I would say right out of the show, do a quick poll, see where your board is, and I'm for dissolving the committee structure and going back to the way we were.
Commissioner Rexroth.
So just a point of order, and I don't disagree with a lot of what's been said. I think the committee didn't have enough structure to begin with. That's why I proposed the changes that I did, and it would address some of Commissioner Algei's concerns. Kathy and I specifically talked about this. I don't think general finance thing should come to the finance committee. It was formed just a task to address a specific task. I think that language addresses that, but then again, I will defer to the whole board. I only have one just scheduling question. I assume if we make this motion and it followed, then I can cancel this afternoon's finance committee because there is no finance committee as soon as this motion is made. Then you'll have to inform the gentleman from MSU that he made his trip for nothing. So I'm okay with that, but I just want to understand logistics and process here, right here. So.
Commissioner Lautner has suggested we poll everybody, and let's start with Commissioner Rexroth and just, we've got a motion on the table, state your view, and let's see where everybody is.
I support continuing the committee structure with the restrictions I suggested.
Emma?
I agree.
Melinda?
I agree.
Well, I said no committees, but that is my, I would go along with, as long as we follow the restrictions.
And I would even say for a limited time, give it a chance. See if the limitations as proposed, revisions don't work, hey, you can kill it. But it could be nice if it stayed open just today because we did ask someone to drive here somewhere else. So,
Totally. That's why we need a calendar.
Commissioner O'Rourke?
Well, the standard is to have 3 of us among the 7 call for a special board meeting. Is that correct? So I agree with Commissioner Rexroth, but I don't think we should overload these committees that we are on. That's the problem. Let's have an issue about, county boards have been operating for years on special meetings. 3 of us, no matter what 3, can call for a special meeting if it's important. But let's give the committee just a little bit of time to work on it. I mean, I'm between Doug and Melinda here right now, so thank you.
Thank you. Gwen?
Like a rose.
I'm not comfortable having a finance committee meet without all of us, so I can't support. I would support a special meeting to discuss a financial issue.
Jamie?
I feel like I'm in between the 2 spaces. I hear Doug, and I think that would be an appropriate way to handle this if we are to continue with the committee structure. However, I'm just not sure, again, not being a part of either committee, what we're actually doing. And to me, it feels like micromanaging a mistake that we continue to make. So I will be totally for moving forward and seeing if we can see some improvement. But maybe revisiting this if it's not functioning appropriately in a few months.
And I'm the only one that hasn't spoken, and I would like to give committee structure a longer trial. I would like to really restrict how we do business. I think Doug has presented some good suggestions for us. I think we all 7 of us, if we adopt that, all 7 of us have to make sure that we abide by that rule. That the only time that committees would consider something is if they were requested to consider it from the full board. And I think I've heard at least 4 people say that. But we have a motion on the floor that says disband the committees, so we first will have to vote on that motion. Am I correct?
The motion on the floor was by Al Geyer that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners amend the committee structure to the entire board that would meet in special session to address special issues.
So that's the motion on the floor. All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So that motion fails 2-5.
So Doug has a motion which puts his plan into place to be placed. Wordsmith, as clerk of the board, would you wordsmith that in our?
If you would take just a quick recess so I could see that email to put it in, that would be helpful.
Good. Fill up your coffee cups.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm open to suggestions. That's just my thoughts, but I further.
Yeah, we will suggest.
Yeah.
Doug, what I would, if we were going to do that, I would say meeting only as directed by the board. So not a monthly
Did you
meeting.
read my email?
Yeah, but
Did you-
not a monthly.
Did you read my email?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want to be monthly. And
I don't want to.
Absolutely. Let me get it to you.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Also, at a finance meeting, it drives me nuts. that I
Well, you're not going to go away here, are you? You're going to stay right here, and I am going to search it, and I'm slow.
But-
Oh, absolutely.
But
Yeah.
part of what it says is there's a very
Doug,
specific
okay.
lineage. That's.
Okay, I think, let me make sure this is it.
That's what I tried to make clear, so.
Okay,
Yep.
so I think I'm doing this correctly.
Actually,
Forward
the
it
original
to you. Okay, so Dr. Reed.
Yeah.
How are you? I'm okay, put you in here.
Who did this?
The boys do, and all three.
All 3 of you? The boys not in.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
And who's
But-
the other lady in the picture?
That was my service.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah, I need a picture.
Beauty's like, I mean, yeah, it's gone, but I mean, that's the way it's, and I don't see it,
family
I
made
don't
in
see it as a
Nevada.
regular meeting schedule, I don't see it as a,
If you email that to me, then I can forward that to Bill.
I'm sorry that I didn't copy before that, but, I did this on New Year's Day, so I didn't. Oops.
Yep, send it to me too.
Yeah.
Do you know if the French vanilla?
There is French vanilla creamer that is sitting right there, and it's empty, then it is gone. But there's the small French vanilla, small ones.
Next to the
So I entered my email and I don't know how to send it.
Oh, I think,
I'll leave that
there we
there.
go. Go see if you got that right. I think you should have got it.
It's like you said, I think we probably should have these rules right at the beginning, more clear.
We did it.
Okay.
God, throw the kid under the bus.
And hey, you know, I'm 100% fine. In 3 months, they say it doesn't work anymore. I don't need to go to extra meetings.
We have been in crisis, trying to get a finance director. You guys just did a great job getting us.
Well, we're not there.
We're not there, but you at least dealt with it more than we could have. This trying to get all set up so that Jamie won't be there. Let's do it.
That's why. Right, no, because it's really wise.
Right. So we do that. We're a small county. Some counties got 5 committees. Conference, like St. We did give them.
Yeah, I got right now. That's all the ARPA money that we're doing from,
That's our band thing, Michelle. She's the key. That is not in my job description. And her asking me to do something that I can't do. Repeatedly. I'm just like, come on. Go to your township official, go to your secretary of state.
Thought a lot about this committee thing. I figured that's the reason I spent about 2 hours today trying to
Thank you.
Do these things make sense to you?
Actually, I mean, I can see benefits either way. I think, we did
But I mean, if you have it, to me, this
it
is.
should have to be an agenda approved by the board.
Right.
That could be something new that would, for any of the committee meetings, an agenda would have to be approved. Or at least, any comments.
Would we have to do that at a board meeting, or could we do it via like an email?
Or they could be directed to address specific issues, so I think there's some.
I think
there's
it's
some
directed,
options.
yeah.
That's what I think.
What I don't like is when you come in for a meeting.
There you go.
Where someone.
Say it again?
Are you ready, Michelle?
Actually, they can.
No, we can't. Public comment.
Oh, thank you.
Say it again, what do you say?
If it's a committee meeting, a finance committee meeting, I can sit out there and not engage.
Right, okay, you were,
But you can come to the full board of executive and speak your mind.
yeah, just one more time, we gotta listen to all the bullshit, but that would happen if you have
I think it makes
another
perfect
one
sense.
anyway, I don't. Personally, this stuff, I would like 65.
Are we in trouble here?
It's disrespectful.
So we will continue to take a little break.
Okay.
Okay, another break? What'd you say?
I like a couple minutes break.
I actually then just,
Can I go back to my office?
She's just putting in the numbers again, so it's only gonna be a minute.
I think Jamie went home.
This is where we hash all this stuff out. This is organization.
I completely agree, but we're putting all this other stuff in here. We're splitting hairs here, and here, and if that's the case, we're gonna be here a long time.
whatever.
And I agree with you, it says, and the
I
agenda
think all
says-
committees, to be honest with you, it should be all committees.
That's
That
The agenda
It should be
says
all.
approval
The
of,
buildings
you
and
either
grounds
approve it or you don't.
Totally,
How do you say
totally.
That is on the agenda, it doesn't say possibly. It says approval.
Are we ready?
Okay, I'm missing something. So what's your point on that?
We either approve them as they are or we modify them.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah, we're on the same page. Approval of, you either approve or you modify them, or you don't approve, you take it. You have to go with what the agenda says.
Part of my thing on the finance
I agree.
is while I was gone, finance committee met and did a whole bunch of stuff,
At whose direction?
and
Yeah, you're right.
I came back and I read it in the paper, and I'm like, what the fuck, what was this? You know?
Right. All right, no,
We're just
So if
waiting for
they're
Jamie.
only gonna meet every once in a while, why can't they meet
We're already gonna know what that issue is.
and speak? We gotta sit out
Oh,
there.
we gotta get into, yeah.
Why didn't you vote for it?
Because there's stuff like not going
what
to
he
some.
changed it to is, we don't go shark hunting. The board tells us to go shark hunting and come back to us. That's what this does. We don't go off on.
It's a rental.
The board says, Doug, in your committee, would you look at this?
Okay.
And I want you to bring this back to me. Then the
Yeah,
e-board.
it's a rental unit, And so we can fix the
Nothing
wall
will
behind
get
it,
done.
put a
And you're
piece of
right.
board or something there, make it
You're
look a little
right.
nicer.
I could say, well, let's talk about changing the light bulbs.
But I hear you, I thought the same thing.
And that may go too, but if the board says, okay, look at changing the light bulbs in the finance committee. No, I agree with that. They're out of control. The meetings, subcommittees are out of control.
Yeah, that's not one to disband
I
it.
agree. No, give it a little bit, like I said. And then you still have control. You say,
Yes, and you deserve more respect than what you're getting from this board. I apologize.
yes, we're on the same page.
I apologize.
Lori, can you go please check with Lee?
The board should be at.
We are live, so
should be
we're
at
live,
the direction
guys.
of the board and report to the board.
Mike
Okay?
is still red.
I just think.
I'll turn it on when
Okay, on those
we're in.
discussions.
Okay,
Okay.
I agree with you. But now I'm not the board.
What kind of weasel is that?
That's called School of Hard Knocks.
Mics are now live.
We are back. Commissioner Rexroth, do you have a motion for us? Or I think that's what we,
Is
I
that,
have
is
your
that,
email.
okay, so anything else?
Motion.
Well, are you going to say what your motion is for the record, so I'm not creating it?
Okay, well, yeah, the motion, I would move that we apply the guidelines as submitted to the existing committee structure, and that at the next meeting, that is wordsmithed into to the board rules, so we can review those rules at that time. Is that-
Support.
Can you say what was that last part? Because today, if you vote on this motion, you'll be approving the board rules. Are you going to amend them again next month, did you say?
Yes.
We might have to.
Because this language would need to be inserted
It would
into
be.
the board rules, correct? I mean, probably should have support before there's discussion, right?
Support.
Yeah.
So I think we need to add to your motion to, if you amend your motion to, where does it need to go? I'm trying to dig for my packet again. So it needs to be inserted in on page such and such.
Page 9.
Be page, yeah, be
committee
page
meetings.
9.
Do you want it between any one place or the other? But just insert it in on page 9 then. And if we have to amend it next month, come back and amend it. But so.
Okay, seconded by Wagner, and
And
I just have a question for you.
it's-
I'll put your discussion in that you just said, I understand that, but I just have clarification for my motions, because it's the administrator's office that will be amending this if you get to approval process. But this here will not negate your finance meeting today, because that was directed by the Board of Commissioners, so you're good to go ahead with that for today.
that would be my understanding, unless there's,
Okay.
Okay, I just want to make sure I
in
understand.
further understanding with this motion, any further actions on the part of the Personnel Committee or the Finance Committee would be authorized by the Executive Board in future Executive Board meetings. Commissioner
Okay.
Kramer?
So just to clarify, so this would give the board the ability to steer the direction of the committees. So, for instance, the gentleman from MSU today, I feel like those sort of discussions need to be a part of our entire board, because those are very big discussions and could potentially, affect obviously the entire county. So I don't know other than like what the language is that we could possibly potentially.
That's included in
That's
this.
all included, so we'll be good to go.
yeah, in other words, I mean, the way this reads, if you don't tell a committee to do something, it can't do it.
Cool,
If
I
you
like
don't
that.
specifically, I mean, to round it up, and the language in there has specific, not, so that's what I think is done to address that. And back to Mr., I think it's Aaron's, I'm not sure, am I pronouncing that right?
Anaheim?
Anaheim? Okay.
Arnheim.
Arnheim, okay, sorry. I spoke with him on the phone, and he really is gonna kind of just ask to go forward with some other stuff today. So the meeting today is not, you're not gonna miss a whole lot, and we could arrange that be presented like at the back end, that we could do our next finance council at the back end of a,
Could he come to the public meeting?
yeah, we'll try and do that. I mean, I will try to honor that. We can discuss that with him at the meeting, so,
It's very similar to when we hired the MLI guy.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
came and spoke to you guys, right?
yeah.
Yeah, before he
we-
did his
yeah.
work.
Did.
Are
Yes,
you
he
talking
did.
about the climate survey dude?
No,
No.
the,
Okay.
John Schulten came to the full board, sat there, and you guys asked him questions. So, yeah, it's the same idea.
No, we weren't allowed to ask questions, but
Yes,
I know what
you
you're.
were.
We have two commissioners that want to speak, but our finance director also has asked to speak. So let's start with you.
Yes, the
I
MSU
never got my questions
extension
asked.
was a recommendation from the full board to the administrative board. Thank you. And so we are following that recommendation from the full board to have him come speak. He certainly can come again. I think that if we continue with the committee structure, the leadership of the executive board would be the vetting agent for anything to be assigned to the committee structure. If committee chairs are approached before the executive has vetted, the leadership of those committees should put up a big stop sign and say, has the executive vetted this and assigned it to this committee? Firmly, this is a leadership issue as far as I'm concerned. I do agree that finance should be heard by committee of the whole. And if committee of the whole wants a deep dive, then they could say, let's go to a smaller committee. And you could name the committee at that time. It doesn't have to be a standing committee. It could be, gosh, this might be a good thing for Commissioner Albert. She has experience in this particular vein of finance. I don't know. I'm just saying, I think you have latitude to be creative with your subcommittees. But finance, for me, to be your interim or your full-time finance director, to make sure you all have all the information is like herding cats. So I would prefer finance at committee of the whole. That's just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Commissioner Elgire and then Commissioner O'Rourke.
Just a brief
Thank you,
statement. So at the meeting this afternoon, I will sit in the audience and listen to Mr. Emrine and not be able to speak or ask questions. And I think that's not appropriate. I will be there unhappily.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Rourke?
Just a suggestion, this should go on page 8-1A.
There's a discussion where it went, I'm fine with that. My motion is amended to that placement.
Is that page 8 of the rules or page 8 of the packet, sir?
It's page 8 of the
Of the rules.
packet, is that this?
Do you want it page?
1A, yes.
Would the clerk please read the motion one more time and then we'll take a vote?
Oh.
Well, the placement, the placement?
Motion by Rex wrote that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners apply the guidelines as submitted to the existing committee structure, seconded by Lautner. And I'm taking and will include what is in this email.
Okay, does this replace C, committee procedures?
It replaces what?
C?
No.
Except for 7, number 7, C7 has to still be in there, obviously.
Are you talking
I think
about?
you can leave all that stuff and just add this
I think it was
language
suggested
in
as
there.
1A
1A is what,
to insert was what was
Or just
recommended.
move them all down and make it number 1.
All right, well, we have to just,
Okay, I think what she's referring to is on page 8, letter D, committee meetings. Meetings of the Executive Board of Commissioners Standing Committee or Select Committees may be convened by its chairperson or a majority of its members upon reasonable notice. That, I think, is what she is saying doesn't apply now because you're going to want to have that amended so that they don't try, someone doesn't decide they want to
Right,
overrule
so-
the prior rule.
And we will,
so amend
we
the
will,
motion to pull D.
we will review the final version at our next meeting. We'll have the administrator's office incorporate this in the book, and then we'll bring it back to this group and take one more look
Okay,
at
but
it.
we're going to pull D then. That's, the idea is this replaces D, what Michelle just read.
I don't know if it completely replaces it or amends it.
It
I can't
amends
think
it.
to that depth right at this moment, but I agree with that, that we should let the language be incorporated and bring
It
back.
just amends it. It doesn't delete the whole sections because
Right.
the administrator and I can compare notes when she's putting this together because there is value in the rest of the sentences in there. It's just that
Right.
there's a portion that
Right.
should come out.
Yeah, thank you. I guess that's what I was
Thank you.
trying to say.
Are we ready to vote on this then, please? Let's do a roll call vote, please. Sean?
Commissioner Rexroth,
Yes.
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Commissioner Wessel,
Yes.
Commissioner Alguier,
No.
Commissioner Kramer,
A hesitant yes.
Commissioner Lautner,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Rourke,
Yes.
6-1.
Thank you. Thank you.
I should have went with him.
And will you bring that back to us? And we'll take one final look at the copy when she is done with that.
I know that. I know that.
We're now on page 10 of our board book, page 9 of the official board rules.
Just housekeeping.
Housekeeping, yeah, thank you.
We can talk.
Okay
So
with
just the
that?
date changes on 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
I had something at 11.
On 11th?
So we would be on page 15 of the rules, which is 16 in
16 of the packet.
in the bottom right corner.
The only significant proposed change is in the middle of page 15, under public comment, and that is just a suggestion, and we can talk about that. Public comment, we have 4A and 4B. 4B is a suggested addition based on some input we've had, but not full board discussion.
So I may be back a bit. On special session agenda, we have public comment 3 minutes and then 5, but we don't have the public comment before the meeting agenda specific, and I would like to suggest that be agenda specific as well, like we do with our other meeting.
What page are you on now?
Executive.
Are you back on page 10, page
I'm on
11 of the
11.
packet?
Back to 11.
Special session agenda.
This is related, it's the same question that's on page 15 under public comment. The suggestion was just one public comment at special meetings at the end of the meeting. If we don't want to approve that, then we do what Commissioner Allgaier is talking about.
Right.
Now, if you look at, if you go to page 15, Gwen, and that would say, other than regular and executive, there's just one public comment at the end.
Well, I was stuck on 11 because if we go back down to 15, so that'll, if we
It'd be changed.
change that, it'll go back and strike.
Yes, it would amend that one
Okay,
as well.
so I would suggest no changes to our present, yeah, and I read this last night, and I couldn't write on my screen. I am absolutely not in favor of eliminating the first public comment at any meeting.
Would you,
3 minutes is fine.
would you support Algeier's position then that at any meeting, that first comment be restricted to agenda specific and then a full comment at the
Yeah,
end?
agenda specific is fine for that meeting, but we do need to have that public comment in the beginning. 3 minutes is fine, agenda specific is fine, 5 minutes to end of the meeting for any public comment.
So you would revise number
Well,
4B on
where
page.
is the original, like, where is that original paragraph, page 4, public comment? All we have is a changed one here because
Here's
it's been deleted.
And 5
So,
minutes for individual.
But I think if you just, if you amend 4B to, for all other meetings, The first public comment will be limited to 3 minutes and be agenda-specific, and there'll be one comment offered at the end. That actually fixes that, because the other
If
part,
that fixes it, I'm okay with that.
I think that addresses your
Um,
concerns, if I'm not misunderstanding.
Would you like to make a motion to that effect?
My motion is what he just said, so in the full wording, then,
So we would accept the changes on page, this is just discussion, so I want to say it so people can hear it and before I make
Go
that
ahead and read
motion.
it.
So,
Okay, go ahead.
the page 15 of the rules, 16 of the packet, we would accept A, 4A changes, and we would amend 4B to, for all other meetings, there will be one initial public comment limited to 3 minutes and be agenda specific, and one public comment at the end. 5 minutes, non-agenda specific.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Discussion.
So, okay, so I'm not finding, my page 15 doesn't have what you were doing,
Page
but
16.
It's 16 in the packet,
16 in the
15 in the,
Okay.
Right there.
I think it accomplishes.
Agenda specific is what I was looking for. So if your motion says, I was hesitant about that in the beginning, but I think it works well.
I think so too.
And I think it's a good idea to keep public comment before meetings agenda specific.
and I guess
It lets us get to the business.
Are we,
So is that what you're,
that's what it said, yeah.
Okay.
For any other meeting, I guess you probably could
Yeah.
eliminate B and just say for all meetings. I mean, is there any meeting not covered by
Just the
that?
regulars. The regular, they can speak in the beginning then, right? On any topic. No?
yeah, regular meetings, unless we change, they can speak to anything at the beginning.
Okay, all right, yeah, so that's still
Like every
needed. So my
other
motion, I
meeting.
get it, I'm sorry, that motion is still needed, because I don't want to, at our regular meeting, we allow public comment on any topic, so I'm sorry.
Correct.
So
That's what-
I think what I said, though, is still the correct motion, so I don't know if there was support.
can
There
you
was.
restate that?
So we would accept changes 4A on page 15 of the rules, page 16 of the packet, and we will amend 4B to read, for all other meetings, there shall be one 3-minute public comment at the beginning of the meeting, limited to agenda specific, and one 5-minute public comment at the end of the meeting for on any subject.
I would support that.
So we have a motion and it's been supported. Are we ready to vote? All those, yes,
I have a
Commissioner
question. It says the time limit, except where extended by the chairperson or any person here. If someone's up there for 3 minutes and I want to hear the rest of it,
Then
only
you,
the chairperson has the right to extend that?
And you could request the chair to allow them to continue to speak.
Okay, thank you.
And then you can, and if he says no, you can move to vote.
You can vote
Right.
on it.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
thanks.
true. Thank you.
All those in support of the motion on the floor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 7-0. We now are on page 16 of the board rules, page 17 of the board packet.
This is just formatting and date change, right?
Formatting.
Correct, housekeeping.
Nothing there. Same thing for 17, 18 in the packet.
Yeah, no. So that concludes the board rules.
So I'm looking for a motion to approve the board rules as amended.
I so move.
Support.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 7-0. Now turning to our agenda, we have an approval of our 2024 meeting schedule, and that is proposed on page 19 of our board packet.
And I think there's already been some.
All right, just a second, I want to double check.
The 9:30 meeting time would change at the top,
Meeting
right?
date. Okay.
We would change to 9:30, but all the dates remain the same.
That's what I was just
Could I have a motion to approve that schedule?
This reflects our discussions earlier, right? This is.
I believe so.
That looks
Yeah,
like-
it keeps our statutory meeting on the first Tuesday in October, and in the annual session on the second Tuesday. That was my main concern. Then April also has it covered.
So I would move to approve the meeting schedule as amended to start the executive board meetings at 9:30.
Support.
All those in support of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Did you vote?
Yes.
Motion
Yeah,
approved
no, but it was
7-0.
aye.
We now have the schedule of monthly updates from individual departments and agencies on page 20 of our board packet. Yeah, yes.
So Commissioners, this has typically been the standard of the reports from different departments that have come to present, or are affiliated agencies or entities that we have agreements with. So if there's any discussion, I know this is one of the things that we've discussed in the past. We will be continuing to work with these individuals that are making reports to ask them if they'd like to submit their report. That's great, but we would also ask that they present a 5-minute, not more than a 5-minute presentation. And if they would like to do a one-page summary, we're recommending that. We would discourage any people from going through the full PowerPoint presentation, just for the essence of time, because we have such full agendas.
So just comment, I do appreciate the 5-minute limit. I mean, that's our responsibility to receive these, review them, read them, and know our information. So I'm okay, and I really appreciate the encouragement to the 5-minute, unless someone has questions and wants more. But
5 minutes for what? For presentations?
5 minutes for presentation, not counting any questions or discussion brought up by commissioners.
I have a question.
You
Why
know
is?
what? Yeah.
Go ahead.
5 minutes. The people coming to present are representing what they do for us all year long. And it's important. And I don't think we do it justice, or them justice, to say 5 minutes. 10, I think, would be fair. Some of these people are driving a long distance. I was driving 100 miles to come and present what my group does for an entire year for us, and you guys told me I could talk for 5 minutes. I'd say, well, how about Zoom? I think we benefit from that information.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think 10 minutes is very fair. Up to. They may not need 10. Don't take the whole 10.
Some people will be glad if it's just up to.
Sure.
Yeah.
So up to 10, I do agree with that. And in I think sometimes I think the biggest value of these presentations is not to us, it is to our general public. So I often kind of see a head cock, and I know the public has questions, and I don't know how we could, if there's just 1 or 2 questions, I think not write it into the board rules, but if there is a question, I would like to see public be allowed to ask, or maybe it's just a confirmation or clarification from the public, and that would be heavily on the board chair to control that. But if there's just 1 or 2 questions, and it's important to them to get that information, because I want to see the public get as much out of those presentations as us. Because, Commissioner Algar, you're exactly right. These are all very important services to our public.
So I hear Commissioner Elgar suggesting that it be 5 to 10 minutes. And of course, this board always has flexibility to extend that if they want to.
Can I just?
Yes, Commissioner Rothman.
I just see a couple things in yellow and some things crossed out. So like Networks Northwest just doesn't exist. They do, don't they still? So they're just not Why are they crossed out, I guess is my question. And then MERS is in yellow. And
I'm not sure that we have had an ongoing MERS presentation. I know we had one most recently, but,
Yeah.
so I think some of these, I'll have to confirm that, but,
Okay.
and Networks Northwest, we've not had representation on that board for some time.
But they did come.
Actually, I-
But we,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
we
they
have,
came,
I said for
yeah.
some time, but
Right,
we
yeah.
have now. So again, I'll have to confirm if that
Okay.
was something, it says EB, I'm not sure exactly what that,
Gotta be
Executive board.
okay.
Yeah.
Perhaps it is,
I think they were undergoing some personnel changes in the executive director, and so they did not report to us.
Okay, but they
Right.
should. They're-
So AM
They're
has
so
to be annual
complicated.
meeting.
Mhm.
AM is our annual meeting, otherwise it's regular session.
And then under AM too, that 4-H report, that was just a one-time thing. So 4-H will be reported under MSU in August as usual. There was just a
thank you, that should.
problem, but yeah, so.
So do we have a motion on the table to approve this schedule with,
No,
okay,
I think it's kind of a living, it's more
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
information
I would say
because
15, let's leave it.
the administrator sometimes has to make changes to people's availability.
so no
it's just-
action necessary?
No.
It has
Just
to
kind of a
as long as we
guideline, if it's been,
Just
Make
out
sure
of-
we're covering everything. Yeah,
Just-
that's,
I appreciate that.
Real
Clerk,
briefly
this-
to Commissioner Lautner's comment about the public, it seems like for certain commentators, we've moved them in front of public comment. And I wonder if that might not be a good idea for all of these presentations, because that would
I think
That would give a chance then, I mean, we can't directly answer those questions, but if that presentation was given at the
Right.
beginning, public could ask questions, then those answers could be given back and research. Does that work, or is there other?
yeah, that's what we had decided, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
well, some of them have been just out of respect for timelines, but go ahead.
That may be an issue then with your board rules in terms of the agenda, because you set that in the agenda structure. So I just want to make sure that we're compliant with that. What's order of-
Page 11 of our handout.
What do we need to change that, or I guess, what's everybody's thought on that? I mean, that does-
Actually, the way that it currently is for regular meeting
And
and,
executive board.
Executive meeting.
Both have the presentations first
Oh.
and then public
okay,
comment.
just wanted to confirm that before we
Okay.
move forward. So
All
we're-
right, thank you.
What the administrator is looking for with this section is just confirmation from you that you agree to continue with this, and she has the latitude because of people's availability to move these around.
And I think all of us concurred with that. And if any one of us want a special presentation, we get with the administrator and ask her to schedule that.
Right.
Next on our agenda is item number 5, and I did reach out and ask for anybody that wanted changes to the committee structure to talk to me. I've had only just one request, and that is from Commissioner Kramer. She has a schedule full of meetings, and I would like to propose that we reinstate Commissioner Allgaier is our representative to Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency. She was in that role before Jamie took over a year ago. If you concur with that appointment, it'll happen. If you want to vote on that, we can do that.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. So we have a new representative to Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that, that's a very, that's
It's a great board, it's an amazing board.
And I would like to bring up the MAC Ag and Tourism Committee, which I was told I could do that. It often conflicts with other meetings for me. Ag and Tourism typically meets on Zoom. And if you're interested in agriculture, for instance, they put together their proposal to the legislature on agriculture. So, and then they didn't meet through the summer. But it's an interesting committee, and we have not had representation on that. And I think it would be beneficial for us to. And they do agricultural issues.
Commissioner Lautner?
I was just going to add in recent years, I'll try to zoom into one of those, just because I'd like to see how far it's come, because in the past, it wasn't covered agricultural wasn't covered or represented very well. So I'm really happy to hear that they're actually covering that. And I would like to see if they're actually covering, how in-depth they are covering a lot of the issues that they're actually dealing with right now.
Would you be willing
Eminent
to
domain, for one, is very concerning to the ag field.
be willing to accept that as an
Yeah, that's
official
fine.
appointment?
Mhm.
And
Sure.
everybody concur with that? So could we let them know that we have Commissioner Lautner will be our representative to the Ag and Tourism Group?
Okay. Are you still doing it as well? Or do you
No.
want me to cover it when you can? No.
No, I'm
Okay,
not.
that's fine then, to be clear. All right,
Your
sure.
baby.
Certainly.
Item number 6 on the agenda, I heard nobody that wanted off your standing committees. I assume we'll leave those as is with the modifications in our board rules that gives direction to finance and personnel and all other standing committees. Everybody in agreement?
Yes.
The 7th item on the agenda, there were questions raised about our legal contract with our attorney and what was covered under retainer and what was extra fees. I've asked Deb to introduce this, and then we will have discussion.
Chairman, were you going to do any motion, or are you just going to make those appointments? Last year, you made a motion to approve those appointments.
Okay. I move to approve the committee board and commissioner appointments to boards and commissions for 2024.
Support.
All those in support of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Motion approved, 7-0.
As amended.
Do you need the standing committees, or did that include that?
Yeah, included it.
Okay,
Got it,
right,
Michelle?
Right.
Is that good? What? Including standing committees as presented, as amended, all that.
So Deb, tell us what we have here.
Sure. So what you have in front of you is a communication that, in regards to information that was in my administrative update to try and address any questions or concerns that had been brought up at the, at the prior board meeting, I believe also at the finance meeting on the 29th, or the special meeting. So the communication, the 4th bullet there in my County Commissioner's update, speaks to the historical process. You'll see the email that is attached that speaks to the fact that there has been a long-standing practice of us redacting information that is on the legal invoices and the justification for some of that. This is not a requirement from Cole Stoker. This has just been a past practice that has been accepted and approved. You also have in the packet that I just handed out, it says original page 1 of 9. This gives you an example, because I think there was a comment by Commissioner Kramer that wants to see past practice. So I went back in the records and was able to pull information from August of 2020. So this gives you what was received. There is the document that comes from Cole Stoker, and then it gives kind of an overview of what like a general statement of what the fees are. And then there's a more detailed list behind it, which would be page 2 of 9, which speaks to the different components of what is outlined in the legal summary. So in some instances, the board will see that some of these issues had to do with internal controls, some do with legal issues, some do with personnel issues. And so all of this information is and has always been available to the board to access and review. We always keep a complete document available. What is sometimes given to accounting is a more redacted document. So with that said, that has been the practice. We've had some obvious changes in how we're doing our accounting, and so I think it's fair to say that there could certainly be some other ways of looking at this. So as you continue on page 3, page 4, you also see page 5. This is a summary, again, that was approved by both Chet Janik and by the clerk, Michelle Crocker. Then you'll see page 6 of 9, more services, professional services rendered. And then page 7 of 9 is actually more detail. And also page 8 of 9, more detail, even to the point where if you look at page, the next section there, 1 of 4, keep moving through the document. We just tried to give you as much information as we could. That was expanded upon, and so accounting copy, page 1 of 4, and you'll see accounting copy 2 of 4, and then you'll also see accounting copy, page 3 of 4, which shows that there was redacted copy provided to accounting by the county clerk. So this has been a well-accepted practice by both administration and through the clerk's office in regards to how this information has typically been shared. Again, whatever the board's pleasure on how we do this, I think that in past history, it has been primarily to preserve, I think, legal documents that are of potential concern. I don't know. I would assume that perhaps the clerk could speak to that as well. Or perhaps our interim finance director.
So on page 3 of 4, it says redacted copy provided to accounting by county clerk. So that means our clerk redacted it or Cole Stoker?
I would have to defer to the clerk because I just saw these documents on Friday that were made available to me.
Before we call on Gwen, could we have the clerk and the finance director respond to what the administrator said?
I do want to respond to one thing. I know this one invoice was from 2020. We've got 2 things going. You have retainer invoices and you have non-retainer invoices. This one from 2020, if you go backwards a couple pages.
Michelle, could you get closer to the microphone?
Shame on you.
And what page, please? What page?
On page 8 of 9 of this handout, if you look at that invoice, and I'm going to go back and review when I get to my office, because I did not bring these files in with me. You will see it's the Anthony Dock litigation, and there were several counties that went in on this. That's not the point. The bill itself doesn't say anything, but in 2020, I believe finances were still under my authority. And when I am looking at this, whether it's redacted, I'm going to go look, but I know for a fact that that redacted copy provided to a county by county clerk was not placed on that document by me. It may be on there, but it was not placed on there by me. I've got in my office multiple copies, especially when you look at outside retainer fees, because prior to this year, just for different reasons, elected officials need litigation. My election commission was sued me that it's not redacted. I was sued under CPL for denying CPL, so I have to defend myself. I see what we have here. I am going to go look into this further because I would like to know how that got on there. But on the invoices prior to that, it's litigation, that would be non-retainer. And I do have the amounts of money that was spent for non-retainer relative to myself, the share of the CPLs. So that's all I can say at this point on this. If you get to retainer versus non-retainer in the history of expenditures, I'm sure Kathy can explain it. I think you guys had asked for the administrator attorney. I don't know about that, but I know that I've looked at what's gone on in the past.
Thank you. Kathy?
Yes, and to expand on this further, in the previous administrative setup, we had Administrator Yannick and the county clerk also acting as your finance accountants. They would receive the bills and they would redact or not redact. There are some redactions in the files. And then the originals would be kept if they were redacted at that level. And if the redactions went to the account clerk, that is appropriate. An account clerk does not need to have that kind of detailed information at that entry level. So just for prudence, I can see that an account clerk might recall, I always received redacted invoices. So I'm just clarifying. I would also do that in this new administration, that the bills come in, and I am aware of what your non-retainer is, so that the account numbers are vetted, so I know we're charging the correct department for those bills or not. Until now, I've had to just go on faith, and that is why I have presented them to claims and accounts under protest, because I am not aware of those accounts. I can't verify it because I haven't been availed of the invoices prior to redaction. I brought this to the new administrator's attention early on in her employment. I brought it to Sean's attention when he was the finance director. During that time, before Sean came on board, I contacted a peer in another county, and I said, as finance director, or whatever title that person has in your county, it's all different, as an issue will tell you. He said, I would never sign off or put a bill in front of the board that I have not vetted. So I, under protest, have just told you, I am presenting it to you. You can look at the bills if you come in. I believe Commissioner Lautner has done so on occasion. Commissioner Kramer, when time allows, you come in and ask to see the file, you certainly can. The files that I have access to are the files that an account clerk constructs. They are the redacted invoice, the copy of the check, the signatures on those. And I can tell you, the last claims and accounts on special session, there were 235 invoices that you reviewed on December 29th. Those invoices have all been handled between me and my account clerk and the department head or the elected official at least 5 or 6 times. They're vetted. I'm not going to sit here and garner the trust of this board and tell you something that's not true. I will not tell you that I have vetted those invoices.
So what is your recommendation to the board?
I recommend that the board understand that they can see any invoice anytime they like, and that I see the unredacted non-retainer so that I can verify the account number that belongs to it. The topic, it's confidential at that level. I don't say I don't care. It's not about me. It's about assigning the correct account number, the correct department, the correct expense to the correct elected official or department head, their budget. So that I'm untrustworthy, it's just, that bothers me.
We have a recommendation from the finance director.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion?
Yes, I would make that motion. Stopping at topic. Jen's got it, I'm sure.
Support.
So now you want to speak to it and then we'll have discussion.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Kathy. I mean, you put it quite eloquently. I know I've been concerned about the costs. I've seen them. As you know, I look at every single line item in our claims and accounts, and we've noticed these large numbers of the non-retainers. So I think if I'm somewhere around for 2023, $31,000, and that's pretty unprecedented for us. So we just need to know why. We need to know what's going on. That is our duty. And I do encourage all of us to go in and read those statements. I have in the past, on and off, and not consistently, and that's my new goal. So I'm really glad that came out, because I made a comment a couple months ago about being very concerned about leaks out of our administration. And if you go to page 1 and look at the middle of the page there, I was absolutely floored that number 1.
What page are you on?
I'm on page 1, so it's like the third.
One? Second one.
There's 3 ones. The third number 1. And it says, Deb, Commissioner Lautner arrived shortly after 3 p.m. and requested my copies of the October legal invoices from Cole Stoker for review. And she is in the director's office reviewing them. Are you kidding me? So either did you ask her to spy on commissioners, or did you just allow commissioners to be spied on? So it just blows me away, because that is one of at least 3 things that I have been attacked on out of that office. And I'm just telling you right now, I don't like it. This is my statutory duty, period.
I would have Alan respond to that, and then we'll take other comments. We do have a motion on the floor to approve the recommendation that our finance director has made. I would just, in turning over to you, say that I raised a question a couple weeks ago. Do you ever deny any commissioner the opportunity to look at a bill? And the answer was no.
Correct.
So I just think we have to keep that in mind.
So in response to Commissioner Lautner, I mean, the reality is my staff is to educate me and inform me if commissioners have made requests. I would hope that requests would come to me as the administrator. Oftentimes they do not. I don't often know if there's a question or an inquiry or an issue or something's been raised. Yeah, I've been totally circumvented on many different issues. So I think this was just an acknowledgement by staff saying, hey, just an FYI, letting you know that a commissioner has come in and has made a request, so that I have the ability to follow up and say, did you get what you needed? Was there a concern? Was there a question? How can I help? I can only be as effective as you as the board allow me to be. And so in these situations, I would just appreciate knowing these things so that I can be helpful, be your administrator. So that, I guess, would be the only comment that I would say. It was not meant to be sneaky or whatever. If anything, I think it was just meant to be informative and to let me know, because otherwise I would not know what the issue was.
Commissioner Rexborough.
Thank you.
The subject matter at hand is a motion on the board and how we redact copies, so I guess I'm going to call the question. I mean,
Hold on, can I
All
also,
those in
before you
support
call the
of,
vote, can I?
all those
can
in
I
support of
speak?
calling the
I did have
question,
my
say
hand
aye.
up before Rex wrote. Sorry, I don't mean
Wait,
to say that to you,
I
but
think,
just.
just
to
a
the
second.
chair.
Just a second. I think because the question was called, we have to vote on that issue before we can take additional comment. People know you want to speak, so I suspect they're not going to support the
we
motion
have
on
to
the
follow
floor.
rules. So I don't have a problem with her speaking, so
You want to withdraw your?
I'll withdraw my call to question, so.
I'd like to follow up on the administrator's comment. In the spirit of transparency, I feel like any commissioner should be able to request or get information without the permission or the guidance of the administrator. This is our board. We, in fact, run the county. And I think that needs to be noted. You are working for us, Deb, and not vice versa. So if we want to go get legal documents, we should be able to do that at any time without preparation. And I just want to keep that clear for the entire board.
Thank you. Commissioner Rourke.
I completely agree, but when someone wants to come in and get something that's redacted or that, I really think that a record should be kept of that request. It seems to me that quite often the board's business is tried in the Leelanau Ticker or the Enterprise before I get it. Thank you.
So we have a motion on the floor. Yes, Commissioner Elgar.
I will support this motion. Overall, above that, we just got this. I'm very uncomfortable. I support this motion, but beyond that, I think we need more. I need time to digest all of this. This was just handed to us.
Understand that. We were sent that last week, but you've had a very busy weekend with your health issues.
Kathy.
I just have one more comment, in that you have given me the responsibility and the authority over your general ledger. And I do need to feel very comfortable putting things and accounts in front of you that I acquire a level of trust with you, that I have reviewed these. The records are mine if I am in charge of your general ledger.
Thank you. I think we have a motion on the floor.
I just have one more comment. I would assume that we're also, besides just making sure they go to the right account, when I read all the things that are included in the retainer, you'll also be reviewing to see, is this actually non-retainer or not? I mean, I trust our account billing attorney, but I assume you'll be reviewing with an unredacted version, you'll be able to make sure we actually owe this bill outside the retainer fee to begin with, because there's a pretty big list of things covered here in that retainer.
I've gone back and looked at non-retainer fees. There is zero in this line item for at least the last 5 years. So this is a concern that we're being charged, and then maybe we shouldn't be.
I guess that's my
But
point.
I have no idea.
But this will give you the ability to review that.
Okay, we have a motion, and I think
So we are going to be able to understand what all these non-retainer fees are for. We're going to follow up on that.
And yes, you can, and we can put this on the agenda. We do have the contract with Cole Stoker in our board packet that spells out what's retainer and what's not. And Kathy, with knowing if it's redacted or not, knowing who the bill goes to, can determine whether it was accurately billed.
Yeah, I can read the terms of the contract and even question Colstover. I have a working relationship with your office, so I can call and say, I'm unsure why this falls out of retainer, and we're being charged non-retainer for this.
That's great.
And try to get to the bottom. That's what you're paying for.
And just to be clear, any commissioner and the finance director can ask any questions that they want at any time and are expected to do so. And I know you agree with that. We have a motion. I think we're ready to vote.
We are.
All those in support of the motion to approve the recommendation of our finance director, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved, 7-0. Thank you.
I have just one more comment. I'm glad we got this far, because it hasn't been, oh, certainly, here are the documents. I have had to insist on seeing them. So, I disagree 100% with the comments made by our administrator on keeping a tally on what we are doing as our job. Because on one hand, you can't tell a commissioner that no, you can't know that, and you can't ask those questions, and you can't be involved in that, and then, oh, but we want to do it, we want to know everything you're doing. So I'm very, very disturbed by that. And this is all about communication. In the past, we had good communication. Right now, we do not have good communication. And to take that further, I really don't know why we've been doing the blanket redacting. So I hope we don't do that any longer. You can take out what is absolutely necessary, but honestly, I really don't see much in here of what our general public can't see we're spending their money on. So, perhaps it would have to be done through FOIA, but we don't need to be redacting everything as a just blanket redaction.
We have approved the motion. We have a new policy in place. The issue of communication will be taken up when we have our review process next month.
Can I make a clarification, Chairman?
Yes.
I misspoke slightly. I wanted to say the Board of Commissioners line item for legal has not had charges for many, many years. There are charges, as the clerk referenced, to CPL to defend in that situation, to CDBG grant. I have confirmed with the county commissioner that he felt comfortable with the charges that were to his department on Post-Oker. I just wanted to clarify that I was referencing specifically the charges to the Board of Commissioners, and I don't want to be misunderstood.
Thank you, Kathy.
I would ask the finance director to review all of the bills that you've had a question about, and if we need further board discussion, we can do that at the executive committee. Yes.
Just one short comment. The legal services contract as provided is the 20th day of April 2021. I think we need to update that.
It is. It is ongoing. It will be up this year. So
Okay. So that was a 3-year? Okay.
We're speaking to, legal counsel is on the executive committee agenda, at least as a placeholder right now, to be able to address their contract.
Okay.
And any other questions the board
There
may
was
have.
nothing new that just popped up on this. This has been in place. Okay, thank you.
Well, we have completed our agenda. We have board rules, we have committee assignments, we've addressed the policy from the finance director, and we are now at our last opportunity for public comment. Before we ask that, we'd like to thank the public for coming, and you may speak.
Okay, thank you. I haven't done this before, so I should speak.
Yes, and Michelle will ask you to speak loudly into the microphone.
State your name and your address.
And she does everybody.
Linda Ackley Eager, and I'm from 8683 South Good Harbor Trail, Cedar. I have found this extremely interesting. Up until now, I've depended on news reports from the ticker and from the Enterprise, and I don't feel like they probably give me the full picture. So it's nice to come here, see the dynamic, see how you all try to work together and find resolution, and I just want to applaud you all and thank you for your service, because I think you're way underpaid. And what it takes out of you is a lot, I can see that, just from this brief meeting. But I do want to address one thing, and that has to do with transparency. I know there are some of you, this is a big issue for some of you. Well, it's a big issue for me too. And I don't see how it works unless it's across the board. So when commissioners are accessing information which could be confidential, I don't know because I'm not in the system, but when it comes to numbers and handling the books, I've been doing my own accounting for my company for 40 years. And if you're going to have access to something, I think you really need to sign in and sign out and be accountable and not have somebody making a note or somebody get offended because everybody knows you went in and looked. I mean, really, be transparent about it. If you want to access financial records, sign in and sign out. What's the big problem? So that's it. That's my only comment. And again, thanks for your service.
Yeah, thank you.
Linda. Any other public comment? Yes, Renee.
So I was not aware of this meeting, but Darcy Beaver asked me to show up to this meeting. And as you know, she resigns as a human resource director. It appears that this personnel committee may have been, taking over her job. I'm not sure. It looks like the personnel committee was involved in speaking to the employees, and we're not allowed to see those like FOIA, which is a big problem. There are other whistleblowers, people in the public employees who are coming forward and want to come forward, so maybe we need to do a whistleblower advocacy committee, perhaps? Because we've got a lot of shenanigans going on here. We've got all these invoices redacted. A whistleblower confided in me that there are timestamps being altered on at least one invoice. This was an invoice in amount of $13,000 to Raymond, which is the auditor. So I need all of you to sign in for that record and find out why that timestamp was altered by 2 months. Is that what we're doing now because we can't pay our bills? We're gonna, when an invoice comes in, we're gonna backdate the receipt of that? Is that what we're gonna do? To juggle all of this finance business? We've had 5 directors, finance directors, resign. I love Kathy, wherever she is. She is trustworthy. She should be our finance director. But we need to get into these FOIAs, have our FOIAs answered by Prosecutor Hubble, who is sitting on them all. And he is not allowed to do that. He needs to resign. Because none of us who gave FOIA requests to him they haven't been answered. In fact, I had to do a FOIA request to find out how many of the 95 FOIA requests that his office has received have not been answered. So our records are being altered in violation of 750, MCL 75248. It appears if we are backdating timestamps, you need to know who's doing that. This is your responsibility. Okay, when I give you, Ty Wessel, evidence of a crime in our land records, you don't give it to her. Deborah Allen is an implant of Rick Robbins. Rick Robbins orchestrated the whole thing of getting rid of our clerk. He told me he did. He called me several months ago and said, "Hey, would you run for clerk?" And to replace Michelle Proctor. I guess he does not like Michelle Proctor, but everything I've seen from Michelle Proctor is on board. There's nothing that she's doing that's fraudulent. I mean, you listen to Kathy, she seems to think everything is, well, there's some things that she thinks that she doesn't agree with. So what happened, according to Rick Robbins, is he decided he wanted to get rid of our clerk who was handling all of our finances. He brought in his neighbor, Deborah Allen, and she's running the show, the Rick Robbins show. She's running. Okay? No. You don't get to do that. You need to resign. Because
I would
if
ask,
you are backdating,
please,
you're
I
going
would,
to cover for her when she backdates.
I would ask you to be respectful.
Okay, I'm going to be respectful.
In 5 minutes.
You all need to do your job to protect
Sorry about
all of us. We need to know what's going on with timestamps. We do have whistleblowers that will come forward, and that's all I have to say. Do your job.
Thank you. Anybody else that would like to make public comment? Yes, Ms. Dawkins?
Happy New Year. Again, I do hope it's a Happy New Year. Kathy Dawkins, Leelanau Township. Several comments. Regarding public comment, I would like to see something at some point change, that the public comments are county-specific, are for things that you guys can work on, not something that goes on somewhere else or that you don't have any control over. The newspaper or somewhere else, Facebook, that's the place when you're talking about something going on somewhere else. But our time is valuable. I think the comment should be only about what you can work on as a board. Another thing on that is that the public comment not be something that the same person says every meeting. I've seen where we have people come in every meeting and say the same thing over and over and over and over again and again. I think that's a waste of everybody's time. Okay. As far as the administration and knowing what's going on with the county employees and the running of the county, I think it is important for whoever the administrator is to know that if a commissioner has a question or an issue about what's going on within this building or out in the frontline workers, if the commissioner has an issue with something that's going on, I think Deb or whoever is the administrator should be aware of it, because how can she or the administrator, how can the administrator help do their job in conjunction with the board of commissioners if the admin and the commissioners are not talking to each other? I know that when I worked here, if I had done something without notifying my boss, I don't know if that analogy works. Anyway, I think communication needs to be opened. And I don't see a problem with somebody notifying the administrator that a commissioner is asking questions about a certain issue. frankly, I think the commissioner should have gone to the administrator first and say, hey, I want to know this, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm in the building, I'm checking it out, just letting you know. And then the administrator can maybe circumvent that and say, hey, I already know this, and here's your answer. You don't have to involve so-and-so. Right here, you got your answer. If the public wants to know about what's going on with the county, my understanding is that's done through FOIA. I know this woman just talked about the FOIA requests not being answered. I'm not sure what the definition, her definition of answer is. I worked under Joe. I felt that he was very ethical and moral and did, compared to the prosecutors I had before Joe, he was always right on top of what was going on in that office. So I'm kind of surprised to hear that FOIA requests are not being answered. Now, maybe what they are is getting an answer they don't like. I don't know if that's the definition or if they're just being ignored, but I would be really surprised to hear that Joe's office is not responding, even if the answer is, no, you don't get it. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Dawkins. Yes.
Keith, Leelanau. I'd like to respond to that. As far as somebody coming here and saying the same thing over and over again, I believe if you look up your First Amendment, they have a right to do that. And I would hope that that person would file charges to anybody that would stop them from making comments, even if it's repetitive. We do have a Constitution, we do a Pledge of Allegiance, and we all get an oath of office to uphold that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? I want to thank you for coming today. Yes.
Eric Limbs, Bay Township. Last Friday, I spoke about the committee structure and how we should get rid of it. I think you're moving in that direction. I like that. It does restrict information flow, puts the power in two commissioners to pass judgment in the committee, which has been passed on and rubber stamped along the way. So I like the direction you're moving. I think you need to get rid of the committees and back to the way things were.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Carrie.
Carrie Onan, Centerville Township. Thank you for your time and effort here at this first meeting. It's going to be a little jumbled, forgive my jumping around a bit. Regarding the practice of redacting as far back as August of 2020, if I understood Admin Allen correctly, Administrator Allen correctly. It sounded like she stated complete documents have always been accessible to the board. And so one question we have is, does that mean the public has access as well? Or do we actually have to FOIA that sort of thing? We'd love to know that that's actually true, that all our commissioners actually have complete documents to go back to, even though they look redacted to someone as important as hopefully our permanent finance director or interim director. So that's one thing I heard the phrase well-accepted practice, and I think you guys got the gist. None of us are real comfortable with full redaction. But no matter how often it's done in the past, it's not okay with us now. And I'd love to see, well, maybe the details are, oh, that's one thing, sorry. The packet that Administrator Allen passed out to all of you, I assume you didn't get that ahead of time. It sounded like.
We did.
No, I was
We did.
mistaken.
You were mistaken?
We
Okay.
did.
I thought I heard a comment, but I wasn't sure if it was in regards to that. So is there a way for those of us that are interested to get on that mailing list so that we too can look at that ahead of time? Or is that restricted to the commissioners? That's right. We have the same challenge plus we're actually not included. So when you bring something to all of you guys, there are those of us that would very much like to follow along. Is there a way we can be included on that sort of, so that's a question I have. Let's see what else. Okay, regarding Commissioner Lautner's suggestion to allow public questions and comments to future presenters. Well, of course, we love that idea. We agree with giving us that option. Please advise us on how to be included, not only in that process, if it's just, I mean, make us aware of what the process is going to be so that we're not left out on a technicality or because we didn't understand the process. So help us understand that ahead of time if possible. And the future presenters, I do see sometimes presenters bringing stuff right in that moment, but is there a way for some of us to be in the loop of receiving their data and their presentation information ahead of time? That would help us make intelligent comments and questions to those presenters. Some of us really do want to be a part of that process. So thank you for that. That's awesome. Let me see. We very much support, I think I touched on this, changing the practice of blanket redacting. And if you're unwilling or unable to refrain from that practice for some reason, we do expect you to help us understand legitimate reasons for doing so. So tell us something that actually makes sense. It's been done, it's just a regular practice that's been done way far back since August of 2020, which for some of us is not very far back. So that, for some of us, is not a legitimate reason to continue that kind of practice. Okay, bear with my silence. I think that's it. Thank you so much for your consideration on all these points, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Commissioner comment? Yes, Commissioner Russ?
Yeah, as chair of the Personnel Committee, getting ready for this afternoon's survey results, I contacted past Administrator Chet Jonick yesterday and had a great conversation, and he shared with me some information that I thought was kind of interesting. And in June, July of 2012, he did a similar climate survey himself using the SWOT, SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats method of gaining information from employees. And clearly, I don't think anyone other than Melinda were maybe on the board in 2012. Maybe you weren't either. Yeah. So it was interesting. There was some very good information that came out of that survey. And I just wanted to share with you, and I'm not sure if this is his quote or someone he used on his quote, because there's no clear indication of who said this, but it says, in absence of clearly defined goals and an honest public understanding of what our issues and challenges are, we become, quote, strangely loyal to performing daily acts of trivia. I just thought about that all night, that in the absence of defined goals, I asked to have goals setting as part of this meeting, and it didn't happen again. Without defined goals and honest public understanding of what our issues and challenges are, we are strangely loyal to performing daily acts of trivia. I think that was obviously a problem in 2012, and I feel like that's a problem still today. He did put out some next steps, and I understand that these were done. Review results with the department heads, provide employees with the results, develop goals and objectives, and share with the Board of Commissioners. So again, we're in this same boat right now, but I challenge us all, and I myself as the chair of the Personnel Committee, to take this information that we're going to get this afternoon to heart and action. I promise you, I will keep making it actionable items, not just rhetoric. And another big quote he had is, the most important thing is to keep it honest and keep it simple. We're county government. We can do this, you guys. We need to be honest with each other. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kramer.
Thank you. Just in response to an earlier comment about the administrator and leadership in general, I, as a commissioner, feel like there are some inconsistencies happening, and I think that it is our responsibility as commissioners to work as a checks and balance system here and make sure that absolute power doesn't sit with one portion of the board, that it is evenly dispersed throughout the counties. And that's what we're here for. And so if we need to seek information, for instance, the redaction might not have been made public if we did that, because we don't know necessarily if we would receive that redacted statement, and therefore finance would still be receiving those. So it's important for us to do our job, however we need to do it, and just keep us transparent as possible. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Other commissioner comment? Two from me that were questions raised. There's no intention on the part of the board to limit the topics that could be talked about. And two, any of the information that we review in open session is available, and most of the time on the website. But you could always reach out if you want to see something. Thank you.
And I did also have a comment. I'm sorry, you did not see my hand. So I have this to say. I do not feel that I need to inform our administrator of every move that I make. So if that is the case, so every time one of us come into the courthouse and need to talk to a department head to tell our one employee what we're doing, I think is a little bit bizarre. I definitely was targeted because, as I said, this was not the first time. My job is not the administrator's job. There is a clear difference. So this is not what that was about. This was not about an administrator trying to learn their jobs. I've worked under several new administrators, and never once has any of those administrators ever tracked me inside this building. Now, if that's the case, and if this is how we're going to do our business, I would like you to please present to me every email, Deb, that you've received telling you what any commissioner is doing inside this building. It's an easy, it'll be a quick search engine. I guess it's going to come from Darcy or Laurel. So if you would get that to me, I would appreciate it. And when I get that, I will apologize for not understanding the new process of tracking commissioners through this building doing our statutory duties. Thank you.
Any other commissioner comment? Yes.
If I go in and I request information from the attorney that you have and Deb has or anyone here in regards to attorney-client privilege, I would hope that you log in the request that I ask for it. Confidentiality in closed meetings, an attorney, they do have rights, okay? I mean, not everything, well, basically the closed meeting regulations and attorney-client should be kept.
You understand
Okay.
the attorney is our employee.
Still.
Okay.
Still,
As long as we
there's leaks,
understand that.
there's leaks around here that gets in, like I said, gets in the ticker before I even read my emails, all right? I would love to know who is doing it.
Me too. I would too.
I'm ready to hear a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned. See you in 55 minutes.
55 minutes.
55.
Yeah, we gotta grab some food.